don't get disconnected,
Yes,
you know.
yes. For me, one of the biggest thing, the biggest challenge that I'm noticing, and the part that's probably in terms of navigating this, is that I at one moment I can have the clarity and know that it's this way and this path that I'm supposed to follow, and then a few days later it seems like I'm on the wrong path, and I need to shift. And I feel actually like I am lost and I am deceived. And so it's that seesaw of conviction, of being certain that this is the right path, and then all of a sudden that path is no longer stable. I need to shift. So in other words, it feels like I'm walking on quicksand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to keep shifting my center of gravity all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you explained the fan that has multiple paths, only not all of them are necessarily the best path. And there are just so many that you have to choose, and you start on one and whoops, that one doesn't work out. So you have to shift to another. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just trusting that if I put a step forward, I'll be directed into the right way.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes, you will. And another thing too, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Uh,
That's the other thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, you could call me or call Pierre or call upon the angels, call upon God, call upon, and because they're there to help us. Whatever that we have, the community, the celestial realm, the I mean, it's like the big gun is on us. Okay, the yeah, it's like a nuclear weapon. It's on us. So we have to pray and reach out to wherever we think we could find the help. Wherever, you know. I'm not saying that to go on the negative path, but we've been taking Pierre's teaching for the longest time, and we have. That doesn't mean that, like Pierre was saying this morning, that doesn't mean that although that we've been taking the teaching, but when you're going through what you're going through, your emotion kick in. And it's like whenever your emotion kick in, everything, it's like you feel like you're on a sea of the unknown, and you don't know where to go, what to do. You forget the prayers, you forget everything that you learned, and you're letting that emotion run you. That's what it is. And we have to find a way to get out, even if it is one word, even if it's like the other day, Janice, I was going through some stuff, and with me, it's when I go to sleep, and as I get up in the morning, it's like it's always like that. That's the way the spirit talk to me. When I get up in the morning, the first thought that come to my mind, okay, this is the thing that I have to do. And I got up that morning, and the prayer, the Heart Sutra came to my mind. And I kept on saying it, but I couldn't remember. And it's only 2 lines. And I couldn't remember the whole thing. So of course, I called Pierre. When I got up, it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I went everywhere trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. And I called Pierre and I said, Pierre, do me a favor. I'm going to work today and I'm not going to be able to maybe listen to anything. Can you just send me that little prayer? Because this morning, that's the first thing, and I don't know why I have to say that prayer. And this is a tool, you understand? That just came in. And I've been saying it since then. I've been doing my touch and feel, and I've been saying it. I've been asking for forgiveness because there are things that we do, and there are things that are that there are thoughts that where our emotions take us, and sometimes these thoughts are not uh, they're not in alignment.
Yeah.
They're not in and it's like the thought itself, which probably is Satan that's putting it in your head, but at the same token, you feel like I'm offending something because I should know better. I'm offending maybe source. I'm offending the highest energy. So what I usually do, and then that's when I go into the forgiveness prayer, and I do my touch and feel. It's just little things. And of course, you know me, Janice, I'm Catholic. And then of course I take the gate, that prayer. To me, it's almost like I'm not saying it's the rosary, but this is the way that I'm addressing it into that feminine energy in that realm. And after that, I could also do my rosary. You know what I'm saying? I I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, it's beautiful, and thank you for sharing. I think probably Pierre's wanting to start the class.
No. The class started. We're talking about it. So, and what I wanted to add to this is the fact that I am very aware, aside from my own clarity, or so often enough lack thereof, in trying to navigate my own path, my safe passage. There are moments where I do have the clarity. There are days where I feel blessed, like last week on Wednesday and Thursday, it was there. It's as if it was 2018, where I felt this blessed presence, this divine grace that dropped upon me. And anybody that, not only was I internally in alignment, but also people around me that were in crisis that were asking me to help them, I would think of them and I could feel a shift occur instantaneously for them. Okay? And it's hard to explain, because when I'm in that state, it's not me, it's the grace of God, and I'm simply being a perfect conduit. And I remain in gratitude, because in the morning when I wake up, I was sharing that last week with all of you, but in the morning when I wake up now, to initiate, to kind of like bring myself back to that state, giving all of the agitation that are being created for us, because the point is that although we are going through something, the whole planet is, we are being trained. Those agitation, those emotional turbulence, the seesaw of emotion to and fro, all of that is trying to train us so that we can find our own inner compass and clarity. And there are times I think, and I keep going vacillating back and forth. This is right, and again, as I said, this is why I'm saying I feel like I'm walking on quicksand. I have to keep shifting the center of gravity to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, and keep moving. And as I do this for myself, it's one thing for me to do it for myself, but it's another thing when I'm being asked to actually also pray for others. Because at that moment, initially, when that happened, particularly when there are many requests for prayers, like it had happened for the past 2.5 weeks, I begun to initially feel overwhelmed. And the reason I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I'm going to share that, I'm going to be perfectly honest, the reason I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's because initially I am so habituated now for the past 3.5 years of doing my own personal practice to kind of navigate where where my compass should go, where my center of gravity should be on that day, on that moment, on that hour, that I am now very aware. It's almost like I have a detachment from whatever external agitation is occurring in my life. And what I mean to say is that because I've done so much work, and I know this is true for all of you, you've done so much work in working on your spiritual, social, and emotional intelligence, and trying to navigate where is that safe passage, where is the right path for me, because there's so many things that are up in the air, so many things are all unsettled. How do I nail everything down and create that clarity? And because of this, I am able to witness the agitation and the emotional disturbance that the external is creating in me. In other words, I am not in it anymore. I am outside of it watching it. And it's a powerful place to be because I'm witnessing it. Now, I do respond, I do react, but I react from a different place. I have more, because I'm not in it, I can analyze it, I can look at it, and I say, okay, today, at this hour, at this moment, that's the way I'm going to react. And when it involves other people externally, let's say people asking me to pray, or friends and family members, relationships, people on the street that are creating what appears to me as a chaos for me, or taking me out of my comfort zone, I have to analyze how I react to it. Sometimes I have to create boundaries. And it's not that I'm angry or I'm agitated, but sometimes I have to become very firm and let people know, do not cross that line. And so I watch myself. My core is still at peace. I'm just being the witness, and I'm watching that thing over there, which is what I consider to be my emotional reaction. And it's a very powerful place to be, because it allows me to either say, yeah, I'm going to do this, or no, I'm not going to do it. And it gives me a real choice. And I'm saying this because a lot of time my clients are calling me with their own individual crises at the moment. And in conversation, in the course of conversation, since my gift is to listen, morphogenic listening, I'm able to hear when they're telling me their stories and their crises, the dissonance that exists in the storyline. And often enough, if I help them go back and explain to me, because a lot of them are so highly emotional, they want to jump the gun. I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. There are things that when you do them, they're irreversible. And if you do them too hastily and without forethought and without careful examination, you cannot reverse them afterwards. So, some of the things I've been telling my client is, go back over this, hold, give it a minute, wait a day or two. And if you still feel that way the next day, then do it. As a way to kind of like help with the with the intelligence, the inner intelligence, to be able to navigate ourselves through. So be aware of this, because a lot of time, as Marjorie and both you and Marjorie and Janice were saying, the emotional stuff can be so palpable and so powerful, where the thing that they create is an amnesia, where you begin, the emotion is so big that it disconnects you to all of the intellectual and spiritual stuff that you knew to actually handle the situation correctly. And then, in addition to that, you need to also and causing you therefore to react in a way that may be outside of what you would normally do. So for me, it's clear that I have to be a little bit more astute in terms of trying to figure out what I feel. And what I'm doing right now, and particularly in New York at this moment, where we have all these storms and all this rain, I'm indoors. And so it's important to me to remain indoors and to spend a lot of time internally trying to sit in silence. Sit in silence and begin to talk to not even talk, just remain in silence and allow myself to find rest, because it's in that state of rest that that moment of perfect certainty shows up for me. The more at rest I am, the quicker that moment of rest can come. And it benefits me because it tells me it gives me such clarity in terms of what I'm supposed to do, but it also helped me when I have people in my circle of influence I have to pray for. Now, in the past 2 weeks, because there were so many prayer requests that came in, as I said initially, at the beginning, when all of these things were coming in, I am a little bit concerned and emotionally overwhelmed, because I don't have the power in me to cure diabetes. I don't have the power in me to remove, dementia, or to do all of the things, because this is what these people are dealing with in their life right at the moment. And I get a little bit concerned because I don't think at the moment I have the clarity and the strength, spiritual strength, to be able to pray clearly for someone else. That's the first thing. The second thing that comes in for me is that since there are so many of them, I'm overwhelmed. Which one do I do first? And who's second, who's third? What's the priority, right? And then third and final is that I then have to realize the reason I am feeling so stressed out and I'm feeling so disturbed by the requests that are coming in, it's because Pierre, my ego, is trying to fix them. Now, this is normal for me because that's my weakness. I tend to be a fixer. I'm a giver and a fixer. So this is normal for me, that I tend to always run to rescue and run to repair, to my detriment. In fact, last week when we talked about the spiritual practice, me lighting my candle in my altar, burning the incense, doing my breath work, because a lot of time in the morning when I wake up, I feel, when I'm not in alignment, I feel that my core, my chest is tight and constricted. And when I do the breath control, it actually opens me up and I go into surrender. So, and then I do a prayer. I customize a prayer and for that moment. And once I do this, it should be no more than 10 minutes for me. Once I do this, I'm ready, I'm prepared, I'm ready. Now, when, for example, requests are coming in, I speak to one client, another one comes in, and that one text, and in one day there are 3 or 4 different requests. That's when I go out of alignment, because my ego, again, Satan and the universe is creating this for me as an opportunity for me to learn how to surrender, because I go into my default, which is Pierre is going to rescue them. And my tendency at that moment is to go into, do the torsion field for me, and immediately start praying or start doing, particularly when the person is part of my spiritual family, is to immediately, if it's a stranger, I have more detachment from them. But if it's somebody I know, my tendency is to immediately start praying, even though I may feel misaligned. And it's a mistake, because you need to be in alignment. You need to have your own inner clarity. Your compass has to be very, very clear in order for you to effectively ask for a remote healing or do a prayer request. So I have to, and so therefore, this is my customized test. I have to realize that I have first, even though I'm, all the requests that came this week were not from strangers, they were for people I love and care for. And because of this, I jumped the gun. I would go in and try to do for that or the other, or this person or that person. And I was literally more confused and more all over the place. There was no simplicity and no clarity. And the way I can describe to you what actually happens when that clarity and that simplicity comes in. Typically speaking, when I do a remote healing for somebody, that remote healing usually lasts 45 minutes to an hour. Or hands-on healing is the same thing, 45 minutes to an hour. But when in that state of grace, where I feel completely aligned with source, and I'm just being nothing more than a touching an anchor for celestial energy to move through me. That's the best way I can describe it. When a request come in to help this person or that person, and I actually now believe Wednesday and Thursday, when I got this into that state, it was because 5 different requests came in from before the weekend before, and I was overwhelmed. And I did everything possible out of my own merit, and I didn't feel that I did good enough. And God blessed me with His grace. And at that moment, when I get into that state, it takes me 10 to 15 minutes per person. And the request is done and their problems are removed. It's not complicated. It's like my eyelid blinking. But it's not me doing it. I'm witnessing God moving through me, because I'm in such a state of surrender.
Can I say something here?
Yes.
I was listening to you talking like this this morning, and I was just wondering, since we have that group on WhatsApp, and the group was created for that, for prayer requests and for us to share, and so on and so forth. And I'm wondering, when you are in that state, is it a good thing to probably ask for people to pray for a certain, certain people, instead of you taking all the burden of that? You understand?
Yeah, but I have. If you remember when Celidia was in the hospital, I posted.
Yeah.
I've done that. When Lily, I posted. I've done that.
Yeah.
I have done that.
Well, I'm talking about, what about the others?
Okay, I could do that as well. I could do that as well.
because
It's
one
just that you don't know these other people, and that's the reason why I didn't post it. There are people that the group
it
no.
doesn't matter if it is a prayer group that is doing intercession.
Okay. All right.
It's a prayer group. You don't have to be connected to the person in order to do the prayer.
Totally
You
true.
you just have to put a little note and maybe give the person name,
Yeah.
and then that's about it, and just give a little something what the person is asking
Burden.
prayer for,
Yes, the
you
burden.
know.
Yes.
Yeah, the burden, what the burden is, and then put it there. I mean, this is a suggestion, and this is in a way um working with the ascension group
Yes.
and working so that we ourselves can do service.
Yes. 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 That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yes.
So for you to be taking all that, and God give you that extension
Yeah.
of creating a prayer group, of having people that are there and willing to do the work. I think you should use that, as
Okay.
make it really an because make it really like an intercession prayer group, a prayer group. I'm talking, my language is almost, it's Catholicisms, but I'm sorry, but you understand what I'm saying.
You stop apologizing. Okay. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. Okay. But thank you, Marjorie.
You're welcome.
More importantly for me, when I'm in that grace, when I wasn't connected to that place, where I felt reconnected again. When I wake up in the morning on Wednesday, for example, I lit the candle, I burned the incense, and I begin to try to do my breath control. Everything was open. I was already in source. I was already surrendered. I don't need to do it because everything is already there. And that's when I know I'm being touched by grace. And at that moment, I begin to make the request for this person or that person. And I begin to share that blessing that I'm receiving. I begin to share it with others. So when you're struggling yourself individually, it is not always wise for you to go out there and start spending your time trying to help others, because self-care becomes important, particularly at this juncture where all the planet is transiting through. We need to spend a lot of time trying to have our own clarity. Okay. And the practice that I do, and yours might be slightly different. Marjorie was telling us how she does it, and other people have different ways of doing it. But for me, lighting the candle is the key. It initiates something, and the incense aroma and the sense of smell is so potent. Many of my deep spiritual insights, when the guardian lights of light first showed up for me, I had incense burning. So when I smell the incense and that aroma, it takes me back. I'm immediately taken back to that place. Bypass time and space, it takes me back. So for me, those two things are very potent way to shortcut and take me to a place where I can connect with God. And yours might be different. It might be a walk in nature. It might be, and I do that also. I walk in nature as well, as much nature you can find in New York City. I walk in the Hudson River Park, and I go sit and meditate there. And so you do what you must so that you can begin to create this alignment and this peace and this serenity in yourself. So what I'm saying is that There is a difference between the self-care and when you're being asked suddenly to care for someone else. And for me, the initial contact, if it's one person, it's one thing. But if when I begin to get 5 different requests in 1 week, I get a little bit overwhelmed. Particularly now, I didn't, not before, but right now I begin to feel I don't have the power and the capability to fix any of these problems. But that's the point. Pierre doesn't have the capability of fixing the problems. Pierre cannot do it. Pierre needs to put his ego in his pocket and surrender the burden of everyone that's making requests to God and let infinity times infinity take care of it and bring light and bring love and bring instantaneous repair to these individuals. I know what it is like because I've experienced it before, and I have witnessed in the past, going many years past. It's that same state of grace that I was in when Lydia was at the airport after 3 days of her not being able to find a flight to return back to New York, being on standby for Memorial Day weekend, 3 days after Memorial Day. And on the 3rd day, she called me and said, Pierre, could you help me do it? Help me. I said, let me do a torsion field. Hold on. I was maybe at the 4th or 5th torsion field, and she was number 48 on the standby list. And I could feel that same grace drop. And I knew instantaneously everything was going to be okay for her. All I ask is for her to return back to New York right now. And at that moment, she said, wait a minute, they're making an announcement. Oh my God, Pierre, I gotta go, I'll call you back. And she hung up, and literally like 10 minutes later, she called. She said, Pierre, I don't know what you did, but you're never gonna believe this. I said, what happened? She said, they didn't even check our boarding passes. They made an announcement. I was number 48 on standby. Everyone that was in standby is on the plane. Whatever you did not only unblocked me to come to New York, but it unblocked everyone else. She said, I've never seen anything like this. I work in the airline for 30 years. No, they didn't check any boarding passes. Everyone get in any seat. So here we are. And I was in that state. It's very hard to explain it, but that old proverb, you have to know there to go there. It's a certain state of grace, and the moment I'm in it, all the wrinkles are gone. Everything is untied, everything is undone. And then you find yourself into a place where you can not only be at rest and at peace with yourself, but you can also be at rest and at peace by interceding and sharing your peace and your rest with other people who are burdened. I told you before, the little phrase that I use when I'm doing remote, these kind of quick healing and remote, and I'm not talking about the long hour or 45 minutes, is that when I connect remotely with the energy of the person, it's a thought and an idea. When I connect and send them their burden to source, may the peace and the serenity that I know pass on to you. And at that moment I'm saying this, I see the peace that I have in me, the clarity, the simplicity, the unburdenedness that exist in me. I see it passing on to them and dropping onto them. And typically speaking, that's all I need to do. And then the person immediately at the other end receives it. I wish I was walking in that state of consciousness all the time, but this is not the truth. I'm not in that state all the time. I am in it at moments. And suddenly I can shift things and things can begin to happen miraculously around people. And they begin to see, oh my God, this ended, that burden dropped, all the things that were, issues that disappear. I remember being on the phone as another example with somebody. This is many years ago, and she was under psychic attack, and she was so nervous and so worried, and she called me in panic and everything else. And I believed her. I believe what she was saying to me was the truth, and I simply again was in that state of grace and connection. And I told her, just be quiet for a moment on the phone. Give me 5 minutes. And I connected to my God, and I began to feel the peace and the serenity that existed in my heart as my connection to endlessness and infinity times infinity. And in my mind, I simply, she's breathing on the phone, and I simply saw that clarity, and I uttered silently to myself, may the peace and the serenity that I know. And I begin to feel it in me, in every part of my being, pass on to you. And I saw it shifted and going right into her. And all of a sudden, she's on the phone. She went, oh my God. She immediately, there was a release. Her ears were ringing. All these things were happening. Everything just stopped. Everything stopped. I actually believe that if I can remain in that state of grace, any burden that exists can be removed. I think a lot of the saint and the ascended masters, like we went to see Ama Kurumaya very recently, and she was able to bless people and remove burden left to right. One after, she's an Indian saint, and she's the incarnation of the Divine Mother, and she was able to do it. I know she's in that state. I know she's in that state, and she's there permanently. And literally, she puts her hand, a right hand on your hand for no more than 2 minutes, and she removes the burdens. But it's not her as the incarnated human being walking on earth. She's allowing the entire Divine Mother consciousness to do this through her. Because when I'm in that state, it's not me. I'm being honest with you. It's not, okay, my spiritual practice may have helped me, because I'm very disciplined and Capricorn, may have helped me create a pathway through which that energy can flow. But when I'm in that state, the power and the immensity of it is not mine. It's too vast and too big to be just my ego. What am I saying in terms of translation to you and where you are right now? Well, for one thing, you need to find on a daily basis, because we're all going to be tested. The test is just at the beginning for the planet. We're going to be tested with more severe situations. So find this, and it doesn't have to be labor intensive. Find the small little things that you need to do to open yourself up to alignment, particularly on days when you're not feeling well, when you feel overwhelmed, and particularly when you're confused and you're like the seesaw in terms of your opinion. One day you think it's this way, the next day it's that way. When you're walking through quicksands and your center of gravity keeps shifting, it's to find a way to help you in your core, in your center. Because whatever is happening outside, however you respond to the outside, that will vary. That will cause the agitation and the seesaw. But if you can connect internally to open your core up and to allow the celestial energies to come in. However it happened, whether it happened through music, whether it happened through a walk in your garden, whether it happened through aromatherapy, whether it happens through a small ritual that you do. However you can do this, do it on a daily basis, whether you feel good or bad. Now, I have to tell you, when I'm in that state of grace, I begin to do it, and I'm literally being told, not even halfway through, by the time I get to the breath control, I'm being told, you don't need to do it. You're already there. And I know I'm already there because I know what that place is. I'm in grace. I've reconnected back to my grace. Now, as I said, what I've been doing it's been raining for like, this is the second day, tomorrow it's supposed to rain again. I'm going to spend a lot of time not even watching anything on YouTube or doing, I'm going to spend a lot of time internally sitting at rest with myself. No agenda, no query, no asking the universe for anything, no TV, no distraction, just sitting in silence and at rest to let me connect back on a more permanent basis to that state of grace.
I'm so glad you're saying that, Pierre, because as you were talking, that's what went to my mind, that you should be sitting in silence, not doing anything. Sometimes you don't have, you really don't have to do the prayers. You don't have to do the practice. You don't have to do anything else. You just sit in silence. Just sit in silence.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that the only thing probably that you could ask is for the allow everything to happen organically, and have and ask the angel that, and do just a short prayer from your heart, and then sit in silence the whole day. It doesn't have to be the whole day. You have to do your stuff, you have to do this, you have to do that, but create that time for the silence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. As a matter of fact, the practice, that my little ritual in the morning, I'm going to do anyway. But once that is done, I'm going to go into, instead of being distracted by trying to rescue and do that or the other, I'm going to just sit in more silent meditation. This is what in Buddhism is trying to achieve a state of non-attachment. Marjorie was talking about the Prajnaparamita, which is the mantra that is repeated, that has helped all Buddhas to achieve enlightenment. And in Sanskrit, it is gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. And it translates into, and what you're asking here, it translates into gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, it is done. What you're asking to be gone is all attachments to everything. Whether you are attached to your own body, whether you are attached to your own health, whether you are attached to rescuing, giving, whether you are attached to trauma and things that happen with your family in childhood, your ancestors. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. You have to go on the other shore where there is non-attachment. Because when that happens, this is where you connect to grace and enlightenment. Again, because these words, in previous classes, I described when I had the insight to actually do this, and what happened to me on the waterfront when I was doing this, as I repeated this, and okay, I would repeat gate parasam gate bodhisoha, and then I would then repeat the translation to myself very, very softly, very silently in the waterfront, just doing a silent in personal meditation, eye closed. And then I would repeat, gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake, it is done. And I would keep going, gate, repeat the cycle multiple times. I don't know how long I was saying this, maybe for 15 minutes, it could have been 30 minutes, but no more than that. And suddenly, I saw myself sitting down like I was a ghost, and I was up here looking down at the top of my head and looking down. I was still in the park on the bench, but around me there was a gigantic force field, invisible, but a force field nonetheless. And as I repeated silently, gate, every syllable, gate, was like a punch against the force field.
Yeah.
It was a punch. It was a gate. Every syllable was a punch. And I saw a ripple of light, like thunderclap. It was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. Okay? The Prajna Paramitra, which is the very end of the Kuan Yin Heart Sutra, is that piece. Every Buddha that has achieved enlightenment, this is the mantra they repeated over and over again until they got to that place.
Question here.
Yes.
It's very, very interesting. You said a word earlier in relation to a conversation with somebody, I think that was relating some experience or prayer request. You called it dissonance.
Yes.
I think that struck in my mind as the disruptor to that connection that you just spoke of with achieving that state of ultimate connection with the Prajna Paramitra prayer. And what I have been working on, maybe I don't need to do so much of, but I've been working on releasing emotional programming, belief systems, all of the things that we've been trying to identify and ferret out that keep the lucidity, let us say, or the clarity from shining. So you see through a glass darkly, so to speak, using a biblical phrase, and rather than achieve neutrality, which is the precursor to truth and wisdom, I think, then maybe this practice of identifying those elements that create dissonance are not necessary if the Prajna Paramitra prayer will absolve them, or is it a temporary only and you have to continue to do it to keep it at bay? In other words, is it is there a relationship, I guess, to what I'm saying?
Okay, that's a great question. The dissonance I'm talking about is often when somebody is going through something and they're telling me this through a coaching. When they're telling me the story, because I'm not in their body and I'm third party, and because I listen extremely well, I can very quickly realize that in the course of telling me their story, they jump over something. Like somebody, I'm going to give you an example. I remember I was talking to a client, and then he said to me, "Oh yeah, when I was 13 years old, blah blah blah. He's gay, and these military people that were connected to my father used to come to my house, and I used to have sex with them all the time. I remember." And then he went on to the next piece of conversation, and I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Go back. What did you just say? How old were you?" And I begin to, I said, "Do you realize what you just said? You were violated. This is rape." And at that moment, he burst out into tears because he began to realize. And again, when you've been traumatized, when something is a problem for you, as a survival mechanism, we create survival coping system that are false beliefs that help us survive. At the moment, it's important, however way he processed it, he blocked the emotional impact of this as if it was completely normal, like everyone on the planet goes through this. This is normal part of growing up. And I'm like, no, I never had this. This never happened to me. It's not normal. These people stole your childhood. They stole your innocence, right? So when you present it this way, all of a sudden the person needed to realize there's something I didn't realize, the emotional impact, I was minimizing it. And we do this all the time. Now, in the process of doing the query and the Dentien, we identify quite a bit of this. But the issue is that after doing this for a while, and Janice, you're totally right, what happened is that it's the magician pulling the handkerchief out of his pocket. Behind every handkerchief is another tie handkerchief. You will keep unraveling and unraveling stuff, and it will never end.
Mm.
Okay? You will keep pulling stuff out and pulling stuff, and behind that one, because all these things are like it's like they have tributary complexes. When you create one, it attracts others. And that one is tributary to this tributary. And having all that knowledge about how the structure is created may be enlightened in some curious intellectual psychology kind of like moment. But if you really want to be unburdened, giving the time frame that we have to do this, the prajna paramitra is the key.
Okay.
Okay, it's the key.
I also think that this time when there are so many challenges, as I called it earlier, our Red Sea moment, they're lessons for us. It's a learning curve, and maybe something that our soul wanted to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Does that play into this whole process of achieving clarity, at least, and connection? Do we have to identify the lessons? Do we have to locate the experience desired, or why we wanted it, do you think?
Okay. On some level, it's interesting to know this, and I'm an intellectual and a geek in that sense that I want to know all of these things. But on another term, it's not necessary.
Not necessarily.
And I'm going to explain to you exactly why. You call it the Red Sea moment, which is accurate. I call it our own individual Job experience. I think the whole planet is now going to a collective Job experience. As you remember in the Bible, Job was the favorite of God, and Satan went to God in front of the throne of God, had a conversation, and God was praising how Job was so holy and so this, and Satan said, has he been tested? And God said, okay, test him, don't kill him, but test him. And how Satan moved in as the adversary, the tester, he removed everything from me. He lost his 3 kids, he lost his wife, he lost his house, and he lost literally everything. He was destitute on the street, he became homeless. He lost everything. And in that whole process, Job was thanking God all the way through. He was in gratitude. He never for once forsaken God. Not once did he say, why are you doing this to me? He said, God, you're doing this. You gave me all this before you are taking it away. You must know better. I praise you for this. I welcome it as an opportunity for me to learn something. I'm paraphrasing, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And this is the way he got through. And at the other end, he inherited all of these things that were much bigger than anything else he had ever had before. So there is a part we should learn, that whatever burden that we're going through, we should be grateful for them and say to God, this is, you're taking me through this for a reason. I don't understand all the reason, but I praise you and I thank you for this burden. Not as a masochistic kind of thing, but as a way to, because our faith, the point is that our faith is being tested. Our trust in the higher power is being tested. That's the point. Our ability to surrender to God, because if you're in gratitude for it, if you're, instead of seeing it as the enemy and try to destroy it and wipe it out, how about you're in gratitude for it?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you have a physical disease. How about wherever the disease is or whatever it shows up, what about you in gratitude for it and you send it gratitude?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It would shift the dynamic completely. It's the disease is not the boogeyman. It would put everything up and it's reverse the polarities. And trust in God. God is giving me this as a challenge right now for a reason. I am trusting that, and God never gives you something that you cannot handle. And there's a reason for it. The reason may not be clear in your mind right now, but I thank you, God, for having presented me with that opportunity. It could be a person in your life that being a pain in the tuchus. And that maybe this is the way your test is being presented. It could be multiple people. It could be, an institution. It could be all kinds of, or a disease. It could be, however it presents itself. And if you can see it in that light, that it's actually my teacher, it's there to teach me something. And therefore, I'm grateful for it. Deep and profound reverence for this opportunity you're presenting to me. In deep gratitude for it.
It presents for me a bit of a conundrum. Anything that you, I'm, I guess, grateful for, anything that you identify with, would that not magnify it to bring you more of it? Which you send out in your thoughts magnifies in return?
Gratitude is the greatest form of love. And love is the ultimate magnifier.
Gratitude to God, certainly, but I can't imagine gratitude to the burden at the moment.
What you are grateful for is not just the burden. It's the fact that that burden is an opportunity for you to connect to God.
Okay, got it. I got you.
Understand? You're not grateful for the pain. You're grateful for that discomfort is an opportunity for you to be in deeper connection with your Creator.
Right, I got it. Thank you.
Okay? You're welcome.
And Janice, maybe the way to do that, because this is what I do. When I'm going through something, whatever it is, pain, physical pain in my body, or any type of other pain, I have the ability of in the pain, there are blessings that are hidden in there. Whatever it is that you're going through, there are blessings that are hidden in there.
Oh, yes.
And if you concentrate and not concentrate, if you identify them, the blessings, then this is a better way to be more, oh, like having a conversation, that I'm going through this. However, thank you, Lord. Thank you. I recognize there's blessing into this. So I'm thanking you for this blessing. And I'm in gratitude for that blessing that you put while I'm going through this. You're giving me those blessings. And
Yeah.
I'm in gratitude for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I think this is a powerful prayer. And usually when I do this, the burden get lifted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so this is what I do, and I hope this
Mm-hmm.
will help. Okay.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good.
I'm going to explain a little bit on what Marjorie is saying. When we go in the Dentian and we identify, the burdens, and we identify all of the problems and all the areas, and instead of remaining and looking at the problem alone, what is the path of repair?
Yes, that's the big question.
Okay, what Marjorie is saying here is that, and this is the way. What I usually do is that after I query and I see the problem, when I'm overwhelmed and I don't know how to fix it, I ask, help me, show me a way to transform this and transmute it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and typically speaking, something show up, and I see the right axis and the right belief system, as opposed to the distorted reality. And when that happened, I am now grateful for that revelation.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying, Janice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I become grateful for that revelation, because without that burden and that twisted version of my reality, I would never have discovered the correct axis.
It's a good thing to keep in mind through every part of your life, isn't it? Not just the big challenges, but even the little bumps in the road.
Absolutely.
Stay in a state of gratitude, as you say, which is love and grace.
When Dr. Emoto did this work on water many years ago that he published, of course, the negative emotion when he froze the water, but when people were projecting negative emotion against, the crystals, when he crystallized the water, they were looking distorted and broken and shattered. But the highest, most organized, and most like extraordinary configuration came from writing gratitude on a cup of water, or love, or having a Buddhist priest, a Zen Buddhist priest, do a blessing on a cup of water. And remember, the only reason we're down here on earth is for us to remove the bread of shame. okay, between the giver and the receiver, and that whole saga, it's supposed to remove the bread of shame. And what is the healing power? How did the shame evolve? The receiver became entitled
Mhm.
and lost the reciprocal gratitude that he was supposed to have for the gift received.
Mhm.
And if you remain grateful, then suddenly all the problems disappear. So the gate, paragate is one thing, but also having a grateful heart for all of because the instincts that we all have, and including me, when somebody hurts or something hurts, we want to get away from it. But if we learn how to sit with it and query it, because it will reveal, okay, this is the twisted thing that's happening here, but what is the correct way to emotionally, physically handle this? And something usually presents itself when I sit with it. You know, maybe not the first day, but eventually something shows up. And then I become grateful for that. And that gratitude reinforces it, make it bigger. And it becomes now the new truth, the new law.
Mm. It creates the consonance as
Yes,
the dissonance.
exactly, 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 exactly.
That's good. Thank you. I like that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So as we move to awareness of that, and again, and you keep going into these experiences of having this kind of connection to gratitude and the gate, pagate, paragate, what happened eventually, you're going to get into the place I'm describing, because I'm not special. I may be more disciplined than most, but I am not, you know, I don't think I was born with a special kind of like whatever. All of you can do this. The same grace can, you know, you can connect to it as well. You can find your grace again, because all of you before you came here on earth were in a state of grace. And that grace is just within your reach. What's holding it back? Shame and undeservedness. And at some point, that grace can return back to you and can reconnect, and you can begin to see in your heart that, wow. And you will know it the moment you get there, because the practice that you typically do to get into things, all of a sudden, when you start doing it, you're going to realize, I'm already there. I don't need to do it because it's already all around me. And at that moment, you can begin to truly do service. You can begin to share. Again, as I said, may the peace, the serenity, and the that I know pass on to you or to everyone in my circle of influence. Because sometimes when I'm doing prayer for the planet generally, or a group of people, let it pass on to everyone in my circle of influence. And again, I see it coming from me and radiating out. I hope this helps in the understanding of what we're supposed to be doing. Let us take a 5-minute break, and then we'll do our closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other and begin to vibrate and operate as one. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Become aware of any personal burden fear and resistance that you may be experiencing at this time. What is your greatest area or pocket of resistance? Lord, do not take the test away from me, but give me the wisdom, the insight, and the expansion to allow me to learn this lesson quickly, that I may transmute this lead into gold. What is the gem and the treasure that this challenge is hiding? Help me find the access to your light that exists in this chaos. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, gone completely over. Awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, gone completely over. Awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over, bodhisoha. Awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over. Awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over. Awake, It is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over. Awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over. Awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, fully gone over. Awake, it is done. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone over, gone fully over, awake. It is done. In the vast continents of infinite possibilities, I offer my pride and my ego and my control at your feet. It is not my responsibility to manage, fix, repair anything. Let the infinite field of endless possibility create the repairs the healing and the instantaneous and miraculous change in me as a cascade of blessings and perpetual renewal. Dropped into my being. May your grace and your benevolence bless me with your redemption and may this endless ease and miraculous transformation end all suffering. May the peace and the serenity that I know pass on to everyone in my circle of influence. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Hmm. Thank you, Pia. That was profound, deep. I appreciate that. And I thank you for the class, which is very helpful.
You're welcome, Janice. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you all for listening. I want to thank everyone who's listening to us on Patreon. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like this video, so that we can increase the algorithm, share it with your friends, and I will talk to all of you next week. Blessings to everyone. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, Jill. Thank you. Good night, Janice.
Good night. Love you.
Love you more. Bisous, bisous.
Bisous, bisous.